Alright, good afternoon everyone. This is Scott and welcome to the weekly trade report video for the week of March 12th, 2017. So first up, the Dow. Let's take a look here. After the Trump speech to Congress, we had that big gap, that big euphoric high, and then the market basically has been fading off since then. So I was a little bit somewhat bearish on the market after that speech, but then it looks like on Friday we had a really nice move in the market. Well, not really nice move in the market, but there was a lot of names setting up in the market, biotechs, and across some other sectors too. There's some really nice setups out there right now. So now that this gap is filled on the Dow, it does look like we're going higher now. So I'm actually pretty bullish on especially the biotech sector, but also the building material sector and some others. So that's the Dow. Let's see, let's take a look at the SPY. Similar thing, right? We had a pretty good little push there on Friday after it closed this gap, so it does look like we're heading higher for next week. IWM small caps, not as pretty as the other two, but still kind of, it had this breakout here through say 138, and then now it's back in this range down in here. So basically at a support level area. Nothing really with too much conviction there on the IWM. All right, next up, let's take a look at the biotech sector. So last week on Friday there was some really good setups in the biotech sector, but also earlier in the week there was some biotechs. But basically this week's watch list for Monday is almost exclusively biotechs because there's just so many good setups in that sector. And on Friday I did really well with Fate, and some other ones of setting up again. And so the sector, for whatever reason, looks really good right now. There's a ton of setups in the biotech sector that look good. And so take a look at the IBB. You can see where it's basically broken through this high. It broke through this recent high here, and if we go back even further, this resistance up here around 300, 301, it does look like it's going to break that too. And so it could be a major multi-year, well, not multi, let's see, this is a 3-year chart, so let's go to a 2-year. So yeah, basically right on this 300 area is a really key resistance, and it does look like we're going to go through that. So the biotech sector looks extremely good for Monday. Like I said, all my setups for Monday are biotech except for a couple, but so the sector just looks really good right now. All right, so let's take a look at one sector that's actually very bearish right now is the energy sector, XLE. Lots of basically head and shoulder tops, reversal patterns in the energy sector. And here's just the sector XLE, the energy fund. And so you can see here just steady down. Here's your top trend line resistance here. And until it can break through this, it's in a bearish scenario for the energy sector. And here's your lower trend line. So you can see how it kind of bounced off that lower trend line there as support. And so we could get a bounce in the sector, but still very bearish on energy at this point. Energy names. Oil had a big drop last week. I think oil dropped like 10% or something for the week. So energy not looking good on the long side right now. Okay, so let's get into some of the individual names from last week. So this week, or last week I should say, I finished the week slightly in the red. I made a couple of mistakes. I went a little bit too big on a couple of positions and took a little hit. Although I will say Friday I did really well with Fate and some of the biotech. So I didn't lose as much as I was down earlier in the week. But but it just happens sometimes. You make mistakes, and you know what you did wrong. You just got to replace it. And I just went too big on a couple of positions. So, and let's talk about that first position there. So, APHQF. So, this is a marijuana stock that I was watching here, and this stock, I just can't seem to get it right. I've traded it a couple times here, and I keep thinking it's going to break through this area here, and it just, it's creating this nice bull flag pattern, which to me is still intact, but the problem is that the marijuana sector is just not, it's just not strong right now. So, but I was seeing this flag here, if you kind of zoom in, and I was seeing this flag right in here. Okay, and historically, this was a pattern that also some of these other weed plays several months ago, like CBIS, were forming. And but anyway, I tried to get this thing here on this 512 break on this day, thinking it was going to finally break out through this area up here and then make a run. Well, what happened is on this day, the following day, it basically faded, and then there was some news, I think that afternoon or something. I think there was a negative article written about Canada's marijuana sector not getting started, and the full legalization federally, it was going to be delayed or something along that line, and the whole sector just gapped down on this day. And so what happened was, on this day, I was up in here about above 512 area, and I didn't sell all my position. I sold most of my position on this day at the low of this day on like 490s or something like that for my entry up here, and I even had a small position going into this day, which I closed out on this gap down. So I took a pretty good hit on this name. I probably should have closed it sooner, but my thinking was that this was kind of a support, and I'll just hold a little bit, and if it doesn't hold this 490 spot, then I'll get out. But I didn't have a chance because the next day, based on the news article, it just gapped down. So it was kind of bad luck, and me just not cutting my losses as soon as I should have. Another thing I want to say is, one thing that was for sure was that the sector, there was really no other names in the sector that had a good chart. So, I mentioned the biotechs, and I'm finding so many biotechs that are looking good. That's really what you want to see. You want to see the whole sector strong. You want to see sector strength. If you see one good setup, you should be able to look through the sector, and if you find more and more of them, that's giving you more confidence in your trade. So APHQF, a couple of mistakes where I went too big. I didn't cut my losses soon enough, and the whole sector was not bullish. This was the only really good setup in the sector, and so the fact that there was not any other good setups in the sector should have been a warning sign, and I should have stayed away. And so anyway, this was a losing trade from last week I want to talk to you guys about, and what I did wrong with that one. So, but you can see here where it's recovered. It came back on this day, which made me a little bit frustrated because it came all the way back up here, but then it got red. So I'll keep watching it, and maybe the sector starts to turn up, but I want to see the other names starting to show strength too before I get in. And right now there's just so many other non-OTC stocks that are good, so I probably won't mess with anymore for now. So that's APHQF. All right, BLPH. So this is one that I actually did well with last week, and I was mentioning on Monday, which was this little flag pattern here, and I liked it through this 140 spot, and this is what I was seeing, 140, and I said if it could break 140, I think it can go to 150 or 160. Well, it did even better than that, and it went all the way up to 180, and even above 180 the day after that. So this little flag pattern here just really stuck out. I did trade this one. I day traded it, and I did very well with it. So I didn't actually run it all the way up to 180, but I did intraday. I bought it and sold it several times and did well with it. And it's still, I keep mentioning the biotechs. This one could be going higher. It looks like maybe it's approaching this lower trend line here. So this one may be able to perk up again on this pullback and make new highs, because the whole sector, the biotech sector, is just really strong right now. So I'd keep an eye on this BLPH again. I think this one could go higher as well for next week. All right, another losing trade I had was this Cliff. So Cliff is just very interesting trade. This one had this big, huge gap up on earnings, and it looked like it was starting to flag out here and go higher, and it just never did. It took a hammer here, and I kept thinking, like, maybe this support here is going to hold, and it did bounce off of that, but then it just broke through that, and I thought, okay, well, maybe this once it fills the gap, maybe this 950 area would act as support. So I think I bought this one, let's see here, Tuesday, thinking that it was going to hold this 950, and it didn't, and it just broke right through it, and I took a loss on that. And that one wasn't too big. That was a pretty small loss, but in reality, though, if you look at the chart, there's really no good reason to buy it. It hadn't shown any strength or any signs of reversing to the upside, so it was really kind of a dumb play there, really. And you can see here where, once a trend is in effect, these downtrends or uptrends, they tend to persist, and so when you try to fight the trend, you're going to get hurt usually. So maybe this one is going to go down to 840, which is key support here, and maybe it bounces off of there, but who knows? I'll just stay away from this one for now. But I learned I probably shouldn't have bought that. That was kind of a really not a good risk to reward scenario trade, and there was really no indication that this was going to be a support, other than it looked like it would be an area where it'd find support, but the price action hadn't indicated that yet. So that was just a mistake, a bad trade there. All right, next up, RNN. So this one was a good trade, although for me, I did sell it too soon. So another biotech here. And here was the pattern here. This 30-cent breakout on this day, closed right up here at this 30, and I bought it the very next day, right on the 30 break, and had really good volume, but it didn't really get anywhere that day. And my thought was, well, it's technically a breakout. It held above 30, and so I'm going to give this thing some more time. Well, the next day, it gapped up, had a nice push, and this is when the whole biotech sector, right, on Friday did really well, several names. And so this one, I actually cut it right at the, right at 35, which I probably should have let a little bit run, because it went all the way as high as 43. So man, that was a nice push. And so, but that's okay. You don't have to catch the tops and bottoms. You can catch a meat of these moves. And kind of my thinking there was that the depth of this pattern here, looking down here at around, it was 24, so that's 24 to 30. So basically, your measured move would be somewhere around 36. So I cut it at 35, but that's okay. If you catch a big piece of it, that's still good. This one could be going higher if the biotech stays strong. Looks a little bit extended now from 30, but if biotechs remain strong, this one could also still be going higher. So definitely one to keep watching. PTX. So another biotech, and this was one that I took a small loss on. I thought it was going to go Friday through this $4 spot. And so there was a high of this little candle back here, and it has a high right here. So it's a key level there, that 4. And just couldn't get through there, and so I took it off for a small loss. But this one will definitely be a watch for next week, along with several other biotech names here through the $4 spot. It looks good. It looks like it's going to go break 4, and then you could maybe use as a measured move this 3. So here I would use this, so 3 to 4. So this thing could actually, maybe even go to $5 if you take $1 measured move there. That'd be quite a move there. But that's how you would kind of use your your pattern depth for a target. Another question I got over the weekend from a member was, where do I put my stops? And I don't think it's such important as where you put your stops on a trade, as long as you keep your losses small. And in general, I would say 2 to 3% below your entry point is a good place to put your stops. And if you time your trade right, like let's take a look at RNN. If you time these trades right when they're breaking out through a resistance level, you shouldn't really ever go back and test too far below where you entered at, because the momentum is on your side. And so it's kind of like a rocket leaving a launch pad, right? I mean, if you catch it right when the momentum's leaving, it's not going to come down to the ground anytime soon. And that's kind of what you're trying to do, is time your entries to where your stops, the momentum is right on your side right when you enter, and so your stops don't get hit. But if you're wrong, you don't want to lose very much. So I think that regardless of where your entry is, you need to have a key level, a support level like this, like say 30 here, and then if it doesn't close above that or level, kind of like with let's take a look at Fate here. Fate, this one was a kind of volatile one on Friday, and so this one, if you bought this one, I bought this one at the open, and it quickly ran all the way to 520, and I closed all my position, and I just happened to catch almost the top, I think, and then it pulled back, and so when I entered, I had no chance of actually, my stop didn't even come close to getting hit. It just immediately went in my direction. But let's say you did enter and then you held it and you didn't take profits and it pulled all the way back here to 450. Well, you kind of have to figure out, what is a key support level? What is a key level on this chart? And you can see it's right around this 450. The whole and half dollar marks are usually key levels, and so if you bought it at the open at what was the open? Let's see here, 464, and then it pulled back to 450. What percentage is that? It shouldn't be more than a couple of percent there. But so I guess what I'm trying to say is, regardless of where you enter the stock at, make sure that you keep your losses pretty small. And like I said, 2 to 3% is good. I would never go more than 4 or 5%. That's just a little bit too much, I think. And just do the best you can to kind of keep those losses small. And I know it's easier said than done. You kind of want to be right sometimes, like I did with APHQF, and then you end up kind of sitting on a position longer than you should. But it's very important to keep those losses small. So I like to use key breakout points as references, for stops, and then maybe put my stops, like I said, no lower than 2 to 3% below my entry point. So that's in general how I use stops. All right, so then this Fate chart was one that this one still looks higher, guys. It's a biotech. It's a flag breakout here. Like I said, I day traded this one. I sold it at the high from my entry at like 460 something, and then I bought it for like 478, I think, and then I resold, and I actually sat all the way through this pullback to 450, and I got a little bit nervous in the day because it actually went green after gapping up, or red, I'm sorry. But then I said, okay, I'm just going to wait. Let's see how it closes. The closing price is what's important. And in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, the sector is strong, the biotech sector is strong, the whole sector. And so maybe this is just panic sellers that bought higher, just trying to jump out. And sure enough, it actually recovered and closed a nice breakout, even though it closed well off the highs. So, but I think this one's got more time to run. I'll be watching this one next week and may re-enter this one if it acts strong next week, and maybe it actually goes and tests that 525 level and breaks that next week. It's a very nice chart. This is a very nice bull flag here, and this was the first day of the breakout of it. So I think there's some more upside here in this fate. Alright, so let's see here. That's not an accurate chart. Okay, so this is Galt, and sorry for the chart. Looks like this. It looks like there was an after hours trade that is showing it down here at 168, but that is not where it closed at. This Galt closed up here at 192, and this is, like I said, another biotech here. And to me, the 190 spot was kind of a key level, and it closed at 192. And so I think this is a key watch for a breakout next week. I think this one looks really good. And I entered it Friday at around 194, and I'm still holding it. I'm going to swing held that one. So I think this one's going to go higher. GALT. All right, CERU. Here's another one, kind of a misleading chart. Looks like there was some after hours action there. Pushed it up here, but this one actually closed right around 152 area, okay, which is right around the high of this, and so had a nice push. And this was on the watch list Friday. I just didn't catch it, and I was messing around with Fate and some other ones, but this will be a nice watch for Monday as well. The CERU through 152 area is definitely a top watch, so keep an eye on that one for Monday. All right, ZFGN, another nice biotech here. Here's the spot right around this 440 area. You can see it was a high, this candle here, kind of a high of this one, and then it closed, I think, right at, and like I said, E-Trade Pro, it shows these after hours prices on the chart. So I think this one closed at like 440, a little bit below this 445 area. But, regardless, this one looks like it's going higher here. Had some good volume. Finally broke out of this range. And a while back I actually tried to trade this one on this candle here, I think, when it tried to break out, and it wasn't ready to go yet. So it faded back, and I took a small loss, I think, on this one back in this time frame. But this one actually had a big volume break. Like I said, you see in the theme here, man, just biotechs. A lot of them are going, so you got to watch the sector next week. ADAP, another biotech. I like this one through this 460 spot. That's where it closed at, right around 460 area. So this one on a 460 break. Looks good. Another biotech, great looking biotech. CRBP, another biotech. Got this 10 spot. This is one I day traded back here when it had this big push all the way to 10. Bought it and sold it up here at 10 actually, and closed my position. This has kind of been sideways action since then, but you can see that this 10 area here, the high of this candle right around 10. Actually, it's more around 10.30, 10.20. So, but in general, right around $10. So that's the high back in here and here, and then the high of this candle here. And you can see where it kind of perked up, closed at 9.50 on Friday. And so this one, like I said, sector remains strong. I can see this one testing 10 and then probably breaking 10. So definitely one to watch. Court, once again, another biotech. See this $10 spot was on the watch list. I didn't trade it, but it was a beautiful breakout here. It was a high back here, tested it here, and then closed right above 10. So as soon as it broke 10, boom, just big push, big volume, just a very nice breakout there. And this one's probably going to go higher. Who knows? 11, 12, who knows, even higher. So who knows how long the momentum's going to be in the biotech sector, but it's there. XON, another bio here through 24. Here's your downtrend here across these highs, something like that. All right, and then it broke the downtrend, and now it's got a nice pivot point here, nice breakout level here at 24. So be one to watch there through 24. XON. INFI here, I like this one through $3. Closed right above that, right near that $3 there. And this is another baby biotech here. Looks good. MRNS. This one's been kind of a slower going, but the chart still looks good. It's just maybe it just doesn't have as much strength as some of the other names. But through this one, 150 spot was the breakout level, and on this day it technically broke. Actually, on this day it technically closed above 150. This day it went up, kind of traded sideways in a range, tested 150, and then it's still hanging out just above that 150 and at 156. So just sitting, resting for a couple of days. But I think this one, like I said, if bios continue with their strength, which it sure looks like they are, this one should be going higher as well. And then let's see here. ZIOP, here's another bio right through $7 level. It closed right near there. It was tested there, and then it closed right near that $7. So just another biotech to watch. And then finally, let's take a look at basically the building material sector has just been really strong. This one is a very nice bull flag here. You can see how it's trading at a little tight range after a breakout. And so Friday had some high volume, and it closed right at the high of these wicks here. So this BLD, I think this one's definitely going to go higher. It's just such a pretty setup, and it's in a very strong sector. Some of the other names in the sector, let's see, CAA I think is one. That one looks higher. You can see that one broke out of this kind of pattern there. And so take a look at the building materials section or sector. There's some other names I think in the sector too. I'm trying to think of them right now, but the home builders, Lennar Homes. Let's see. I think the sector is ITB, the U.S. Take a look at that. They broke out through this range here, and then they're just higher and higher and higher. So building materials and the home builders are a pretty strong sector right now as well. But right now my focus is on the bios, definitely for Monday. And so because the whole watch list is bios except for BLD, and so that's the theme for next for Monday. So all right guys, if you guys have any questions, feel free to email me, send me a message on Twitter, and we'll see you guys on Monday, and hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. Thanks.